Hey guys, today we're going to be installing these Whiteline Steering Rack Bushes to give your steering a bit more of a sharper feel less floppy. Yeah. Okay, so normally to install that bushing, you need a special tool, but that thing is like 90 Australian dollars, which is quite expensive if you factor in the cost of the bushing as well. So we're going to use a 36mm deep impact socket, an M10 bolt and nut. It's 15 centimeters long, and then some washers. And I think you also need a knife, and I'll show you why. So this is the new bushing that's going in. The old one is basically the same size, and we've got a bit of a problem. As you can see, this rounded area here doesn't quite fit into here. So when we get under the car, we need to take a knife to the old bushing and sort of cut out this flanged area so that it's now small enough to fit into this socket. And then yeah, let's get under the car. Alright guys, so we're under the car, and I sort of demonstrated to you earlier. This bushing has a bit of a flange bit on the outside, which makes it a bit hard to fit into the socket, so we're gonna like sort of trim it out. So I got me a razor blade, and we're gonna start the trimming process. I feel like this video isn't gonna be complete without me going to hospital. But Alright, so there's a very specific way you have to do this, and what we found is these bolts, if you tighten them too hard, the nut has a tendency to sort of like fuse onto the bolt, and when that happens, it just gets hard stuck and you can't move, and then we gotta start hacksawing it off, and we have footage of that to show you. So there's a very specific way to do this if you want to do this without using the tool. And so firstly, we cleaved off all the extra flanges here and just test to see if my socket fits over it, which is good. And then next thing you want to do is you want some WD-40 or knockoff, which we have here. And you want to first generously lubricate as much as you can into the crack there, because any bit of lubricant will help it. And just lubricate the back too, because we need all the help we can get, because this thing gets really stuck in there, and if you have an older car, it might get a lot of dirt in there and it'll get even more stuck. And another thing that would definitely help, that you really should do, and I'm not joking, you really should lubricate this bolt. And the reason why you want some lubrication on the bolt is because when you're tightening it, like I said earlier, this nut has a tendency to fuse with the actual bolt, and that's really bad. I'm guessing it's because it's made of the same material, so under pressure it fuses. So next step you want to do, you need two nuts, by the way. So take one nut and put it in and make it go all the way down. So just spin it till it's all the way down. Next thing you want to do, slip a washer in there. Oh,
that was cool.
Yeah. And after that, you want to sit your socket on, slip this through, and then get your next nut and put it in on the other side. Yeah, start tightening this side. And this side doesn't necessarily need to be super tight, because with time it'll get pulled against the bushing, so it doesn't need to be super tight, but just make sure you thread it in by about a centimeter or two. And yeah, okay, now we have this whole assembly here. Now, the next step is somewhat crucial. You need to get a mate to hold on to the head of the bolt while you tighten this nut here. So the goal is to get the head of the bolt and the nut to create a gap to separate, which will start pulling the bushing through. And every few turns, when you feel this nut start to get a lot of tension, you should back it off and before start tightening again, otherwise you're going to fuse it together. And then every now and then remember to apply more lubricant to make sure it's not going to fuse, and we just keep doing that, and with time this bushing will come out. And I'm going to start tightening. So yeah, I'm going to start tightening. So 1 turn, 2 turns, and then it feels like moderately hard to turn right now, so it's not too much of a threat. But I see it's starting to get a bit harder. So what I want to do is I want to back it off a little, give it some space, back it off until it's loose, just to make sure it hasn't fused with the bolt. And now that it's loose, we start again. We start tightening, tightening. If it gets stuck, you absolutely should not keep brute forcing it, because like I said, if you start brute forcing it, you're gonna cause the nut and the bolt to like fuse together because they're made of the same material. Remember, every now and then apply some lubricant in here. And after a few minutes of this arduous process, you've saved yourself $90 from not using the right tools.
Or in our case, spent more.
We've spent more experimenting and screwing it up, and we've wasted more time as well. It was not a good journey, but hey!
But
now
if you follow what we've done correctly, you'll save yourself $90.
Yeah. And voila! Bob's your uncle is out.
Cool.
Just like that. And you know what? I would actually recommend you get 2 bolts, because that process was very destructive to this. And I can already feel that all of these threads have been really knackered. And yeah, look, this nut here is not free spinning at all anymore. It's just like really stuck. So yeah, should you get the tool? You don't have to, but as you can see, we learned the really hard way that if you don't get the tool, things are more likely to screw up, but it's doable. So try at your own risk. And there you go, there's the old bushing. Alright, so let's go put the new one in. Alright, so we got a new one here, and the new one's gonna be so much easier to push in, because as you can see, it comes in 2 parts, so you just slip and it's done. There is a little bit of a extra step you gotta do before you put it in though. You gotta put some of this high performance bushing lubricant, provided with the kit. And then you just apply it the same way you would apply lubricant to other cylindrical objects that you might have experience with. And then I get this in. Ah, there we go. So yeah, put the rubber in before putting the metal cylinder in. And it still needs a bit of convincing. Alright, and now with that in, you just have to find the original bolt and put it in, tighten it, and you've got yourself a new steering rack. So we're gonna tighten these things up, and then we're gonna go for a drive. Bolts to be inserted through. Done. Oh, actually you might want to put a washer first. Oh, we got a problem.
What's up?
It is now, that whole nut is spinning. Okay.
One eternity later.
Alright, what are we doing here, Josh?
So, if you look here, we're sawing through this nut. This nut is like attached to this bolt. There's no way that we can get it off.
3 hours later.
Alright, we finally got this stupid nut off. The problem was that when we were trying to rotate this side, inside would rotate with it, but we finally, after 3 hours of hacksaw ridge, managed to get it off. Alright, so Josh, you just went for a drive?
Yep.
How is it?
Alright guys, so we took it for a drive and it was actually really good. So I noticed that the steering was a lot more precise and it didn't have that dead spot, which a lot of people will experience. The dead spot, the first few degrees, there's not really much happens on either side. So I feel like that was alleviated, and it just overall had a nicer steering sort of feel to it. So yeah, it's worth it, especially for how cheap it was. So
Was it worth the 9 hours it took us to install?
Oh, that one. If I reckon if we could do that in the time it was supposed to take, it would definitely be worth it.
Yeah, so if you guys follow our guide, it'll probably only take you like half an hour, and we suffered for you to find out all the things that could go wrong. But yeah, see you in the next video. Yeah, don't make a mistake. Alright, see you next time. Bye.